everybody, I'm Rob, and I'm going to be doing something a little bit different this year. At about this time, a lot of my fellow movie reviewers on YouTube, as well as professional movie critics, are compiling their lists of the best and worst movies of the years. At least that's what they think are the best and their worst. And I'm in a very different sort of situation. I'm not going to be doing a list quite like that this year because this year was kind of different for me because I wasn't, for one reason or another, I wasn't able to go see every movie that came out this year. I had to be a little bit more economical this time around. So there's some movies that I haven't seen that were supposedly one of the best of the years, like American Hustle and Wolf on Wall Street, and worst movies supposedly include Paranoia and 47 Ronin. I'm going to be doing something different this year. This video, I'm compiling a couple movies that I really liked this year and some movies that I were disappointed in, and I'm also going to pick what I thought was the worst movie that I saw this year. Alright, let's start with some of the movies that I really liked this year. Here are, I picked four titles for my list of the movies that I liked. The first movie that I really liked this year was 42, a biopic about Jackie Robinson, who broke the color barrier as the first black man to play Major League American professional baseball for the Brooklyn Dodgers. 42 was very refreshing for me because as a viewer I felt like I was there and really involved in watching Robinson's life and what he went through. Most biopics that I've seen as of late come across to me as maybe too sugary or too dramatized or too fake or what have you, but thanks to the writing and the performances, the characters to me were fleshed out, and you could really care about these lead characters or despise some of them who want Robinson out of the professional baseball. And Robinson's home life as a family man is shown here, as well as his hatred of the segregation that was going on at the time, and it was really nice to see these things instead of focusing just on his baseball career. 42 had a theme that I think really hit home with audiences, including discrimination and equal rights, and I feel like this was a fine movie for the whole family and not just for adults. There's a lot of biopics that came out that are definitely more adult focused, but this one I think is something the whole family could really enjoy. My next pick for a movie that I really liked is also kind of a controversial one. It's Iron Man 3. Now, this movie kicked off the somewhat up and down summer blockbuster season, and it really kind of split people. But Iron Man 3, for me, featured a new writer and director, Shane Black, and he brought things. He did some things differently. This film was a little bit more cerebral and it had a darker tone compared to the previous Iron Man films, where they were more action, comedy, popcorn films. And while arguably it wasn't as good as the first film, I thought it was much better than the second one, and I really like the new things that were tried here. For example, Iron Man 3 is more of a deliberate paced thriller. It's full of twists and turns, and it seems to be going from this comic book-like setting from the previous film into a somewhat more realistic one, and the villains were not these super villains, they were terrorists. The action scenes are not really the main focus of the film as they were in the Avengers or the previous Iron Man films, but it focuses on Stark trying to use his head to get out of his current situation because his suit got damaged, so he's pretty much stripped of everything that he has. I also know that some people were upset about a particular twist in the film, and I admit I was kind of disappointed at first too, but I think people forgot who the real villain was, and if you don't know what I'm talking about and you saw this movie, you'll probably need to go back and watch the movie. I will admit, like I said, I was disappointed at first because the trailers made you believe and the ads made you believe it was going to be a certain way, and I think when people got into it, they might have been disappointed, or if they were die-hard comic book fans, they might have been disappointed. But for Iron Man 3, I thought it was a fun movie. I like that they tried some different things out, and I really enjoyed it. The next movie that I'm going to talk about that I liked this year was Prisoners. It starred Hugh Jackman and Terrence Howard as neighbors who have younger children that go missing. Shot in cold colors, Prisoners was both a mystery thriller as different leads and theories are thrown at the audience, as well as a character study as these two families are dealing with the aftermath of the disappearance of their children. The cast gave intense performances, especially Hugh Jackman, who will do what he has to find the kids, and Jake Gyllenhaal is in this movie as a tough yet frustrated cop on the case, trying to make sense of everything. The movie also gives audiences enough time to spend with the families at the beginning of the movie, just so you get to know them and relate to them as we see them talking about stuff like their hobbies, Jackson's son wanting a new car, and what is going on in their lives. Prisoners, I thought, balanced nice quiet moments with some very loud and dramatic, intense ones, and I thought that it was a very well acted mystery complete with chills and dramatic moments. The next movie that I really enjoyed this year, and the last one I will talk about for this category, was World War Z. It starred Brad Pitt as a former FBI agent who is called back when a zombie epidemic is rising. World War Z, I thought, was on the edge of your seat suspense action film that had a touch of horror and science fiction. I really appreciate that we did not get the voiceover at the beginning explaining to the audience what has been going on, like some other films from 2013, like Oblivion with Tom Cruise, or After Earth, which featured Jaden and Will Smith. What it did was that we see clips from TV news shows as well as stuff that's happening with some characters on the streets, and it shows the audience just enough for them to figure out. Again, the photography made the images look like you were at these actual locations, and the shadowy ones in the dark halls add to the scares, I thought, and there were some gray tones in some other ones. And of course the shaky cam was utilized very well here. Now for those of you that watch my reviews, oftentimes I do sometimes complain about the shaky cam, or directors sometimes do it just to do it, or sometimes they'll just do it while a scene is going on, and sometimes I think it's very distracting and annoying, and some other times it gives me a headache. But here I thought it was utilized very well. It was used in stuff like crowd scenes where people are panicking on the street, because in this case the camera is you, and you're reacting, you're panicking, you're tripping over some of these people that are running from these zombies. It was very effective, and here is an example where it works. And the special effects did not overshadow the film. It complemented it very well, and it wasn't done just to show off. World War Z, I thought, had a very good character development, which I thought oftentimes got thrown out of some of the movies that I saw this summer. You follow Brad Pitt, who's a family man, who wants to find a cure, and he made me care about him and feel involved in the story. And I think that without that, I would have felt like I was just sitting there watching the movie and just not feeling involved at all. Now, I will admit, I have never read the book, and which was a complaint that a lot of reviewers had, that this movie is almost nothing like the book. And I'll admit I've never read it, so I don't know how different it is from the film. But as a film, I thought World War Z, I was scared, I was surprised, and I got to think a little bit. So I felt involved with what was going on with the characters, and as a result, I really enjoyed the movie. Alright, now let's move on over to the disappointed category. I selected a few films for this one. The first movie that disappointed me this year, and let's see how many